Here, the raffle will start in just a moment. Now, everybody raise your hand. You're not auctioning on anything, okay? So I just want to say thank you all for being here today or this afternoon or this evening, whatever you call it. But anyway, my name is Don McCoy, and I'm the mayor of Fulshear, Texas. Anybody heard of Fulshear, Texas? Really? That's it? I got to do a better job, I got to tell you. But Fulshear is known as, just got voted again for the third year in a row, not voted, but has been designated the second fastest growing city in America. And that's kind of a good distinction, but I like to be the fastest quality of life city in America. But if you haven't been out to Fulshear, come out and see us. I'm also president of the local Chamber of Commerce as well. But I could tell this is actually pretty remarkable to be here today. For me, especially because last time I was introducing TerraFlow publicly, it was in a smaller space about a year ago, and the event was right here in Katy last August, and it was a considerably smaller space. In fact, it was in a hotel up on I-10. Now, at the time, there was a lot of conversation, a lot of vision, a lot of big ideas about TerraFlow Energy. I mean, big market shifts, that's important. And questions about what we all are talking about nowadays is AI infrastructure, power demand, grid resilience, and whether or not the industry was truly prepared for what's coming next. I like to look up every now and then what today is National Day of. Ladies, today is National Chardonnay Day, so you can hit the bars. I don't drink Chardonnay, but it's also National Talk Like Yoda Day, so if anybody wants to come up and talk like Yoda, I'll be happy to entertain you. But it's actually National I Need a Patch for That. I didn't know there was such a thing as a national day called I Need a Patch for That. And interesting enough, here we are at TerraFlow Energy introducing what they have come up with next. And this is truly a patch for the future. This resolves so many issues with power grids and the things that we are facing in the AI world that we are coming up on. So now, less than a year later, you could walk through a 100,000 square foot facility and see a full-scale pilot system right over here through that door. And if you haven't been over there, you need to go check it out. And you can look at the kind of technical and commercial progress that the TerraFlow team has made in an incredibly short time, in less than a year. So while much of the market has been talking about future possibilities, TerraFlow has been focused on architecture, execution, and focused on partnerships and very, very real infrastructure problems tied to reliability, flexibility, and large loads that behave in the real world. And I can tell you, as mayor of one of the fastest growing cities in America, infrastructure is a primary concern with us, and power is a big concern, especially living in this area of the world where from time to time we have hurricanes, right? So I'm going to wrap up with this. I think tonight is a big opportunity just to see how far they've come. It is an opportunity to see how far they come. But just get a glimpse of where this entire sector is heading next. So with that, I want to thank you for having me today. Thank you, John, for inviting me to do this today. I'm so impressed with this organization. We're going to roll a short video that brings us the vision, the technology, and the momentum behind TerraFlow for life. If we could have your attention, please, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. Give yourselves a round of applause. Come on, let's make sure you're out there. All right, here we go.
AI data centers power usage are staggering. They want 99.999% uptime. They do not want to sacrifice compute for anything. When you talk gigawatt scale data center, 30 to 80% of the data center swings multiple times per minute. A gigawatt, just for reference, is about the equivalent of 1 million homes worth of power. When you start talking gigawatt scale, those are loads that are large enough to potentially cause a rolling blackout that could take out an entire grid. They're using the lithium-ion batteries to help fill in the power volatility. They're designed to cycle once per day. If you're talking 6 to 12 cycles per minute, you're putting it through cycles that it's not designed to be put through. They're not even lasting 6 months. So you're turning generators and lithium-ion batteries into consumables. Otherwise, you'll get hyperfocus in a cell, which creates thermal runaway, which is how they catch on fire. What's unique to vanadium flow batteries compared to lithium-ion, no thermal runaway. They can also charge and discharge at the same time. With TerraFlow Energy solution, where you're running through the battery instead of switching to the battery, what it does is it acts as a shock absorber and a filter.
As an investor, I always look for a high-performance culture. And these guys are as good as it gets. You put in $1 million in TerraFlow, and I promise you it's better than any oil investment you'll ever make. My direct investment with TerraFlow was because of the energy side. Every one of these AI centers or any major electrical system has to have electricity. If you don't have a controllable load in electricity, you don't have anything. And TerraFlow Energy is the way to do this. It's not a solar play, it's any energy source. It could be with the nuclear plants, it could be with coal plants, it could be with solar, wind, gas turbines. Any power that produces electrons, we can store that electron. TerraFlow has done a wonderful job executing partnerships and forming strong strategic relationships with the TerraFlow Energy brand. I'm very guaranteed I'm doubling down on the next rounds.
TerraFlow Energy solution is a win for the grid by being a controllable and responsive load. It's a win for AI data centers because it handles all the problems that they're having with power volatility and harmonic distortion.
So all the volatility is absorbed by the battery. All the harmonic distortion is absorbed by the battery. No degradation in cycles. So the batteries last a long time. But instead of giving you 1 to 2 hours with lithium-ion battery and 10 minutes of UPS, we're putting 10 hours of storage in. It actually solves all the problems in one solution. What we've come up with is the ability to curtail 100% of the load with zero sacrifice. Because you can take the data center 100% off the grid for 5 to 7 hours a day, every day. And now the data center is truly an asset to the grid instead of a liability. When you go and tell a local utility that you're going to take a gigawatt scale data center and turn it into a responsive load, you're going to the top of the deck.
I've had to speak a lot of times now in the past few months, and it was such a blast. That was part of Suncast Media did a podcast with me, and it was an absolute blast to be able to put that together. So thank you, Suncast, for helping us with that. I want to take a little bit of a step back. For those of you that don't know me, my name is John Parrella. I'm the CEO of TerraFlow Energy, and I truly appreciate everybody coming here tonight to be able to see this monumental building that we've accomplished, the battery that we've accomplished, and the track record that we're on right now. I want to take a little bit of a stroll back down memory lane. This company was formed in June of 2024. So next month is our 2-year anniversary. And I want to thank all the people that are here that are investors, partners, that are potential future customers and potential investors. This is monumental because where we started was a twinkle in our eye when my mother-in-law, which actually future mother-in-law at that point, came to me and said, I got this battery company that came to me and wants to do a public-private partnership to be able to demonstrate it at my fire station. She happens to be a commissioner with the fire department. And she said, would you look at this? I don't understand it. So I looked at it. I called the company up. They were a chemical company. They didn't make the balance of plant. And they basically said, we're going to take something from Europe and we're going to put our chemistry in it and we're going to demonstrate it. And I looked at them and I said, well, why are we going to take something from Europe? Why don't we make it here in the United States? And that's kind of how TerraFlow started. Fast forward now, this was our first prototype using that chemistry with our partners Pneumatic and Hydraulic that allowed us to be able to very quickly get to a working battery in an organic substance. Now, we had some challenges with the organic chemistry, but we didn't give up. And we were able to move forward. In 2025, we started partnering with companies like Storion and Voltarion that allowed us to be able to build larger demonstrations using the vanadium chemistry, and that's where we started to normalize. Because for us, building a battery that is resilient for data centers was extremely important because of the demands that they're going to put these things through. So some of you that came and saw us in 2025 in August, less than a year ago, saw the top picture in the lobby of the hotel, like Don was saying. And that was kind of our first stab at making a bigger battery. The bottom is our facility in Belleville, where we were actually starting to scale this up, and we were going to put the pilot that you see in the other room in Belleville. And the funny thing was, as we started to go through this and started explaining the benefits to it, we started to get a lot of interest. And I was looking at my landlord at the time, who's one of my business partners that happens to own the building that you're standing in right now, Jeff Goldberg. And I said, we're going to need a bigger building. This facility actually happened to be under construction already with Recon Construction. Thank you, Matt, for helping us out with that. But this facility was under construction, and he didn't yet have a tenant. And this was designed originally, as you see, there's 5 buildings here, 100,000 square feet. It was designed originally to be kind of 5 different companies. And I looked at him and said, I'll take the whole thing. We're going to need all the space we can get. Where we're standing right now started as actually had a lot of trees, and there was a lot of pine on this spot. And yes, we are in the middle of 2 different neighborhoods, so unfortunately, Houston doesn't have any zoning, so I feel bad for some of our neighbors, but we'll be good neighbors, I promise. But very quickly, Recon was able to help us get these buildings up and running and be able to give us a future. We are now standing in what will be here probably in the next 60 days, the largest vanadium manufacturing facility here in the United States. That in and of itself is a massive accomplishment. And this is just the beginning. Not only did we have to build a building and figure out how we were going to manufacture it, this is a pilot factory for us. Now, it doesn't look small, but when we start going to the next level, it's going to be significantly bigger. What you'll see in the room next door, if you haven't already gotten to go visit it, is that is a full-scale 1.25 megawatt pilot battery. It has about 1 hour of duration of fluid in it. And we didn't necessarily need to go bigger for that because that's our 5,000 square foot lab that we're going to be using for testing and integration with our EMS platform, the software that will control the battery. But if you haven't gone and seen it, impressive. Those power skids that you saw, though, are going to be built right where you're standing. So this building will have probably 3 or 4 of them going at the same time as we start to ramp this facility up, and will be capable of manufacturing about 300 megawatts of batteries per year. Now that sounds like a lot, but when you actually start to look at what these data centers are demanding, it's nothing. It's very, very small. So this is just the beginning. But we wanted to show you guys what a battery looks like. Now, that battery itself has some very unique capabilities with the way we've designed this building to be tested in a lot of different ways. I don't know if you guys saw those 5 black boxes that are along that wall, but that is a 1,200 core GPU cluster that we are going to use as a load bank to be able to prove that LDUPS works with data centers. We actually have a mini data center in that other room. Now, it's a previous generation, so it's not quite the newest, latest, greatest, but we're going to be able to replicate with that the ugliest load that you've ever seen out of a data center so that we can put our battery to the paces and show that it works. That's going to start happening here imminently as soon as CenterPoint gets the power to the building. That's really the only thing that we're waiting for right now. And as you notice, we're running off generators in the building. We apologize, it's a little bit hot. We tried to bring the air conditioning in and get it cooled down, but we were so eager to be able to show off that the facility's here and it's coming imminently and the battery's here and it's almost done. So we wanted to show people because the demand and the time frame that we have to get this stuff done is so tight for these data centers with how fast they're growing that we had to accelerate everything. In that room, we'll be able to demonstrate LDUPS, which stands for Long Duration Uninterruptible Power Supply, which is for the AI data centers, where we solve the volatility, harmonic distortion, and turn those data centers into flexible loads. We actually have the ability here to be able to replicate both on-grid and off-grid. So we can roll up a generator and take that battery offline and run off the generator versus running off the grid to show a behind-the-meter solution versus a grid-connected solution and test both. We also have all of the buildings that we control on here, A, B, and C that you see here, will be connected to that battery and be able to run off the battery during the day and charge the battery at night to replicate a commercial application installed with our battery. So we'll be able to actually demonstrate out of this facility multiple different solutions with that battery. Now, there will be far more batteries in that lab here in the near future. We have one in Belleville that will move over here shortly as well. But as far as this event's concerned, we couldn't start filling those tanks up, unfortunately, to demonstrate them until we have power and we get our CO here. The path to gigascale. Like I said, this facility is 100,000 square feet. When you start talking about building these at gigascale or larger, you start getting into about 2 million square feet. So 20 times the size of the buildings that you're standing in right now. Now, we have a path forward for this to actually build 2 of these. And the goal is to get them broken ground this year and to be able to have them online by sometime mid-2028. Now, that's an aggressive goal again, but that's one of the reasons that we've launched the capital raise to be able to raise the money to do this, because if we don't, the data centers are demanding so much volume, we'd miss a massive opportunity, and we just won't do that. So this facility will come online. While this facility is coming online and working out the kinks of mass production, we'll start breaking ground on the gigafactories to be able to start accelerating this growth and keep up with the demand from the data centers. This will happen here in Texas as well. Our goal is to build a gigafactory in the Waller County area and then another one down in the Port of Victoria, both places we've been talking about now for a while. But those are in process and moving very quickly. And in fact, we have a number of the politicians from those areas in the room, so we greatly appreciate you taking time away from your day to come and spend time with us and see what's coming. Because it's going to be a lot of fun. This is probably something that will start to occur on an annual basis with the growth path that we're on right now, just to keep showing it off. Infrastructure for the next era. So when we start talking about where we're going as a company, we're focused on making things domestically here in the United States. That's very important when you start talking about all the tax credits going on and everything else. But domestic manufacturing is obviously something made in not just the United States, but made here in Texas. It's very important to us. Now, we will build other units or other manufacturing facilities in other states, as well as we are starting to expand internationally. We've got projects already forming in Brazil and in Europe, and some of our partners even from those are here as well. So where we thought we would never leave the state of Texas, we're already United States, now we're going international already, so it's expanding at a pace that we can't keep up with almost, and won't be able to make them fast enough. The overall energy infrastructure and resilience is a massive problem, and it was mind-blowing when we went to Brazil to see Brazil is very similar situation to Texas. Texas, all the power, all the renewables are produced in the west, and all the power is used in the east, until they go build all these data centers out west. Well, in Brazil, all the power is in the north, and all the usage is in the south. So they're facing very similar challenges, but they have a goal to be 100% renewable. And so when you do that, you create a lot of issues with the intermittent power from solar and wind. And so that's where they're actually looking to potentially use our batteries. So we actually met with the grid, Axia, down there on our trip, and started to show them what we were doing. And they're like, you have to come to Brazil, you have to start manufacturing batteries here too. Now, one of the other really cool things about energy infrastructure and dominance is how do you scale this business? So one of the really cool things that we got to do while we were down in Brazil was actually visit the mine, and the owner of the mine, or the CEO of the mine is here in the room with us today, but we actually got to go visit the mine in Brazil where the vanadium is extracted out of the ground and turned into the chemistry that we will ultimately use. Now, the vanadium comes from the mine down in Brazil from a company called Largo, and then comes to our partners here in the United States, Storion and Veco, and they will actually produce and convert that vanadium into the vanadium chemistry that will be in the battery that you see next door and in all of our batteries. But it was mind-blowing to see how big of an operation it is, how much capacity there is, and how we can scale this business and what's involved in it. So we're getting involved all the way down to the mine level to partner with all these companies to be able to make sure that we can get vanadium, because it is a commodity, get it at scale, and hedge our bets to make sure that we don't get influenced by the demand we're going to create with the scale that we're producing. So it's been an absolute blast having to solve all these problems to put all the pieces together to be able to build something as big as we're going. And it's something that we couldn't do without the partners that we've got. So you see a lot of logos on the wall in there, and we put those up there on purpose because the companies that are starting to partner with us are not small names. They're very, very big names. And so it's something that we couldn't do by ourselves. It's something we needed help with. But it's something that they have to drink in the Kool-Aid and believe in it too. And so the farther along we get, the more we have the ability to demonstrate. That battery next door is all third-party parts. The only thing that we actually made, other than designing how to put them all together, was the metal fabrication. So we couldn't do it without our partners, and that's what gives us the ability to scale to this size, is that we get all these partners rowing in the same direction to help us to get there. Now, I want to talk about a few new things that we have that are coming, that are exciting announcements that we're going to be making, and some new strategic partnerships. As you may have seen in there, all those GPUs, in order to be able to get those, the lead time to be able to get new GPUs and the amount of GPUs we had, we'd wait forever. One of the CTOs of one of the divisions of Dell has been instrumental in helping us get to where we are right now, in opening doors that we probably would not have been able to open quickly on our own. And in that relationship, he introduced us to Worldwide Technology, who's also here, who is one of their largest distributors here in the United States. Together, they helped us to get those racks because one of their clients was upgrading their system and had all those racks and was just going to throw them away. And so what we did was we said, well, wait, not looking to make money with it. I just want to have something I can run against my battery to prove that it works. He was able to orchestrate getting us those GPUs to be able to run against the system. So David, can't thank you enough. The funny thing is now when you have people walk in here and tell them that we have that, they drool over it. So that in and of itself is very important. What's crazy with it though is that as he's introduced us to more and more players, the community continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And as people start to get educated, because my job as a CEO is to evangelize and to raise money and to make sure that the world knows we exist. With that, we then started to talk to Siemens. And Siemens has the ability to do something called digital twin, which means that I can take what I built in there and I spent millions of dollars to make and do it all virtually and spend a lot less money and be able to test it and simulate it and scale and run it through its courses without actually physically having to make it. What AI is enabled, what digital twin is enabled, is nothing short of incredible. But then we took it one step farther, which is not only are we digital twinning the product, we're also digital twinning the factory. So once I have the product designed to a far enough place, they can actually go and say, okay, here's all the machines we need, we can simulate it, we can run it through and show you what it would take to make 5, 10, 25, 50 of these a day. So it allows us to look at what does the factory require, how do you run it through its paces to make sure that you can actually make these things. Well, then all of a sudden David opens up the door with Sam Hodge from WWT, calls us into a meeting with some of the heads of NVIDIA Energy. Well, we had already started down the path of getting into the NVIDIA Inception program because obviously the majority of the chips out there are either NVIDIA or AMD. And so we wanted to make sure that when you go to talk to these hyperscalers, that they'll sign off on your electrical architecture. Because as a newer technology, even though we're a proven technology, that becomes extremely challenging. Well, all of a sudden, light bulbs went off between the whole group of us. Everybody on my team that was there, Dell, WWT, and NVIDIA, where he said, holy cow, they have a program called DSX, which is the next generation of racks and servers and chips and everything that are coming. And what they're doing is they're digital twinning integration of all the components that go into making these data centers and having predetermined packages that they can go to the hyperscalers and say, this is how you build a data center, and this is how it works. Well, now the NVIDIA gentleman looked at it and went, holy cow, as I think David did when he first started to learn about what we were doing, we may be one of the only solutions that can actually solve the problem of tearing up equipment and burning through things. And so our partnership with Siemens happens to be one of the core groups that integrates digital twin with the NVIDIA program. All of a sudden, all the pieces really started to come together as we started to meet all these partners that started accelerating our growth and started accelerating the opportunity size to be more than we could ever imagine making. The last one that I'll mention tonight as far as new partnerships that we didn't announce at our last event, is our partnership that we just signed an MOU with NOV. In order to be able to build at this scale, when you start talking AI data centers, the tank size has to get big in order to scale and have the density that we have. To give you an idea, that battery next door is 2.5 times the density of lithium ion. What that means is that in a square meter, a lithium ion battery produces about 250 kilowatt hours per square meter. That battery is 650 kilowatt hours per meter squared. So it's significantly more dense, which means you fit more battery in a smaller footprint. And for data centers, the land is important. Now, that's not a little battery. So even building these batteries is not small. But in order to do that, we can't be the expert at everything in our battery, which most companies try to do, which is why a lot of battery companies fail. So in this situation, we went and said, how are we going to solve big tanks? We figured out how to make it work from a standpoint of scaling and plugging it in and flowing all the fluid. How do we actually build tanks that big? If you look at the data centers, you're talking about million-gallon tanks. To put that in perspective, this building is 30 feet tall. The tank would be 60 feet diameter and about 50 feet tall, just the tank, not including the building that it goes in. So it wasn't something that we wanted to take on the challenge. Unfortunately or fortunately, the chemistry itself has sulfuric acid in it. It's still safe because it's extremely watered down. We're about 75% water, but it does have sulfuric acid in it. So you can't just put metal pipes in metal tanks with sulfuric acid or it will eat through it. So the challenge became, how do we make a battery that has long life and how do we build at that scale? And that's really where NOV came in. NOV does fiberglass wound tanks that are actually wound in place. They have machines that will wind the tank in place. Then you take the machine out, put it in the next one, they'll wind another tank right next to it. So instead of bringing tanks to the facility, we actually make the tanks on site. They had the technology, they have the scale and the balance sheet to scale with us. They drank the Kool-Aid, and now we've got a partner. And so that's where you see all the logos on that wall. Everything from ISCO to NOV, Siemens, everybody that's out there is playing a part in this, okay? Now, these are just the newest announcements. I have to say my thanks to everybody that's been involved in this process, and if I left you out for whatever reason, I greatly apologize. But we were trying to think of everybody that's been involved in this process that's been material to helping us get where we need to go. ABB has provided us with components, and we've been looking at inverter rectifiers and architectures and everything on how to make these batteries work. Gori Architecture is our exclusive architecture firm. All the presentations that you guys have seen, if you've ever sat through a presentation with me or with Ian, all the renderings, everything you've seen that's gotten us to this point, that's created the ability for people to digest the technology we're putting together, have been done by Gori and couldn't have done it without them. ISCO, all the black piping that you see in that room is all HDPE, and they are by far the largest in the United States, and we could not have done it without them. And they're also one of the reasons that we have the ability to scale, because by going with HDPE instead of Schedule 80 PVC, it enables us to be able to scale this and build something that will not leak. Pneumatic and hydraulic helping us to get started, helping us with pumps and fluid dynamics. Recon Construction. When we go to actually build these batteries, it is a turnkey solution. Recon Construction is our EPC firm that will actually build them. So not only is he building our factories, he's also going to build the batteries for us as well on site. Storion Energy, all those black stacks that you see in there and the chemistry that's going to fill those tanks came from Storion. They've been instrumental in shortening the life cycle of our ability to be able to build these batteries by cutting out all the. We weren't flow battery experts before we got into this business, but we have gotten there very quickly. Veco and Voltarion, again, industry and stack providers. We actually have 4 different stack providers we work with. Storion is one of them. We're always looking for more to be able to diversify our supply chain depending on where in the world we're building, and the chemistry, just being able to get enough of it. Veco is our Australian partner that will also be manufacturing here as well. And Voltarion's actually out of Germany, but a lot of them are coming here to build in the United States because of what we're doing and the scale at which we're building it. So not only are we creating jobs, but we're also bringing our partners here more jobs and more factories in Texas. 741 Solutions built a custom inverter rectifier, which is not yet in that room, but it will be shortly, so we can actually demonstrate how this LDUPS battery works. Katya and Company is the one that put on this amazing venue for us and actually decorated and everything. Gotta give props where props is due. And by far, we will not do another venue without her being involved in it. She's a rock star. I want to mention the next few names on here because they're very important to us. Austin County, Victoria County, Waller County. In order to be able to build at the scale that we're building, and in order to be able to move the needle, you have to have the communities around you involved. And what I can tell you is that all three of these counties have had their own issues with people that don't want batteries or data centers built. But they've rallied behind us because of the safety and the cleanliness of the battery that we're going to be producing to be able to stand up manufacturing at scale, and allowed us to be able to look at bringing data centers and clients to their communities as well. So I can't thank enough the counties that have gotten behind us to support us, to help us with tax benefits and everything else that we need to make this a reality. Fort Bend County's coming. We're not quite there yet because we're in Fort Bend County right now, but we built this facility so fast we couldn't even get with them before, and they just swapped county judges, so we're catch up with Fort Bend County. The last one's Katy EDC, the HEDI, Houston Energy Leadership Consortium, and Greater Houston Partnership have been instrumental in opening a lot of doors for us and really helping promote us as well, and introducing us to other counterparties. So I can't thank everybody here enough for helping us to get to this point. Everybody in this room's here for a reason. They either want to be a client, an investor, already are an investor, or a partner. So as you see these events, as we get to the future, this room's just going to have to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So can't thank everybody enough for coming. I want to leave with one thing. If you haven't seen the battery, please go see it. Enjoy the food, enjoy the drink. The rest of the night's just for networking, for asking questions. If you see somebody with a TerraFlow logo on their shirt, by all means ask them. They had a part in building the battery and helping us get to this point. But I appreciate everybody very, very much for coming to this event yet again and joining us for this. Have a lot of fun. Thank you very much for supporting us.